Have you checked the children? Your little match
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Bevanito.
Sorry, I stepped on you.
Bevanito's, Bevanito's Fright fans, and welcome to the horror show. I'm Jaime Fuego.
I'm Cecil Laird.
And we are jumping on for another patron-requested bit from our homie Media Kraken.
Yes, sir.
We are talking about...
Spook Dev.
Yeah, The Devil's Rock.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to recall, 2011,
Yep,
if I'm not
2011.
mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. But there has been a lot of films that demonize, rightfully so, the Nazi contingent of Germany, and this is no exception. However, this was one of the most unique. I mean, this and Overlord, I think, are two of the best that I have seen.
This is way better than Overlord.
I think so too, as far as just
way better than Overlord.
Being self-contained and just
a clean story.
Very much so, and a fascinating character study as far as the nature of what has been well publicized that the Third Reich was looking into when the Führer was pulling the strings and stuff like that. We know Germany.
Führer was into some messed up stuff.
He was, man, and thankfully, and as they have admonished themselves, and they have done everything that they can to, kind of like make amends and whatever, even if it can't necessarily transpire. But this sort of exploration, especially on a very personal and emotional scale, I found very fascinating, especially based on the guise that our said villain takes. I thought that was one of the most fascinating aspects of this. And just to kind of double down on overall impressions, I thought despite the fact that there's only a cast of 4 or 5 people in the entirety of this, it was incredibly effective and it was very well shot. Shout out to New Zealand filmmaking, man. I just appreciate the predominance of what I've seen from just about every creator over there, and it's emotional. It kind of just, I don't know. It what's the word I'm looking for? Goes against my expectations in a lot of ways.
Subverted your expectations.
Subverted, yeah. I was thinking subjugate for whatever. I'm like, no, that's not the proper thing.
Subjugated my expectations.
Yeah, exactly.
Enslaved them.
But I mean, the biggest thing is the fact that I had seen the promotional poster of this.
Literally
and
my point.
It was like a vampire-looking woman with an SS
Nazi hat, yeah.
And I was like, "What is
Not
this
interested.
even about?
Not interested.
This looks lame." And
Can I pick up the ball and run with it at that point?
Please do, because
Okay.
it's not even in the movie.
Yes. So this is a movie where the promotional art actually hurt it, because I gotta say, this came out in 2011 when Blockbuster was actually still around.
Kinda.
People were. It was. I was still going at the time, and there was
Hanging on the thread.
still people. A lot of the movies were going straight to there, and this was one of the movies I remember seeing on the shelf, and I was just so. It screamed B, C, D horror movie with, yes, a vampire-looking chick with sharp teeth, wearing a Nazi uniform, and I'm like, I don't care. What is it, Nazi exploitation?
Yeah.
Not into it. But here we are, Media Kraken requested it, and I'm like, okay, let me give it a try. And I'm going to, for my overall thoughts, I'm going to go through my experience, which was I put it on while I was watching something, and it starts off with 2 dudes invading an island off of France, that they're sneaking onto an island off of France in a way reminiscent of D-Day, right? It's a beachhead.
It's pre D-Day.
It is pre D-Day, but it is a
a
beachhead, not unlike D-Day. So you're expecting the worst, but they're creeping on and nothing's happening. They're not meeting any resistance, although they do have to watch out for mines in a very intense moment. And then they get into this bunker, and all they do is they find dead bodies. Mutilated and desiccated bodies everywhere, and
lots of missing pieces.
Yes, and they get separated, and they each find different things. One guy finds a leftover Nazi and something that he's protecting, and then the other guy comes to the fact afterwards, after he hears his friend, after he hears gunshots, I should say, and at that point it becomes one of these men finds this Nazi and also finds a woman that is chained up that he assumes is being used for the pleasure of the Nazis. However, this one Nazi general is telling him, no, there's something wrong with this woman. She is not of this world. She is of demon descent, and she killed everyone, and you can't free her. And so it is, from that point, a battle of wills as well as a battle of cooperation at times.
Compromise, for
Compromise
sure.
and cooperation at times. And without spoiling what happens, it's, you know, what is the depth of the truth of what the Nazi is saying? Is this actually a woman being held against her will, or is it something not of this world being held against her will? And as it plays out, it is just so fucking interesting, and I loved watching it unfold. I never once looked at my watch during this movie. I don't know how long it was. It probably wasn't that long, but it was
relatively short.
It was
in the,
so
like,
concise,
90-ish
90-ish minute range, but it is so concise and well told that I was into it the whole way. It felt like a half hour to me. I just really, really dug the hell out of this movie.
Yeah, indeed. And
And we kind of covered the story.
We
there,
did,
so.
we did, and yeah, I was very invested with just the suspicion aspect. You know, it like how much.
Who's telling how much truth?
How much of the truth is being imparted to this guy who you find out is a New Zealander after some stuff happens with, and you know, the only other guy who was with him.
Name, rank, serial number.
Yeah, exactly. But holy crap, the fact that these two have to kind of feel each other out, so to speak, and even the performance, if we're going to segue.
I quite liked the German guy.
I did
I'm
too.
sorry, he was an English guy working for Germany, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and that's because he didn't have like a thick ass accent or anything of that particular nature. But yeah, just the discussion about how much war takes its toll on people. This was a film that, like, I mean, sometimes in this variety, you have something that is far more a war film or far more a horror film or, you know, whatever. This achieved the juggling act and the juxtaposition of having both of those be relevant and, you know, relatable and, you know, just give you that kind of personhood and impression. And, yeah, I was very impressed.
Me too. And acting wise, it was really good. Again, there was
a lot to shoulder with just
four
a couple
actors
guys.
total. Four actors total in the entire movie. And I love movies that are exercises in low budget filmmaking. And when you have four actors, there is that. It didn't feel low budget though.
No.
It felt like a regular Hollywood budgeted movie, but this is clearly an independent film, and it's just made so deftly that it felt like a big budget movie. And a lot of that is to do with the crazy amount of gory effects, which we'll get to. But again,
as our characters get like bit and shot and blood covered.
Well, and
stuff
again,
like
and
that.
even the bodies they find when they first get there. And not only that,
heavily mutilated.
but the fact that one of the people goes with like a dustpan and starts scooping up parts of the body for reasons, and it's just so dope. But again, sticking with the acting, I loved the two New Zealand actors. I think that the weakest actor goes away
the
pretty
girl.
quick. No,
Oh,
no, I was gonna say the weakest actor goes away pretty quick.
Oh, okay, the one we see early
Yeah.
on where he's like talking about the sweetheart
Yeah.
and all that stuff.
Of
Yeah,
the three,
yeah.
I didn't think the girl was bad. I felt like she had a lot of makeup to act through at times, which we'll also get to. But
Because I presume that was her under
Yes,
the
yes,
prosthetics
yes,
and the
yes.
garb of red and
Yeah,
all that.
it has
kind
to
of
be.
shit.
It has to
Yeah,
be. But the main New Zealander and especially the German, I thought did a really good fucking job acting wise.
Yeah, and they had a weird chemistry and kind of this like forced coexistence sort of situation that I'm always fascinated with films like this where, and this is kind of a jump back to the storytelling, but where you just have to coexist based on necessity. I love horror films where people who would be like opposing each other, typically they have to join their forces and stuff, and that was something this film did very well. All of the dialogue between these two was engaging, and you were just kind of even wondering about certain affiliations and how somebody, especially our New Zealand guy, you know, when he realizes the guise of this evil presence, and even in the third act when they're like got the salt circles and all that different shit, it kept me guessing. And so props to not I don't know, just premeditating it, in my presence.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's not necessarily, you can't predict what's going to happen necessarily.
And I tried to. I was like, this is going to be a predictable film that's going to do all of these, like, evil Nazi sort of things.
It's a really cool thing. Like, I just really liked it.
Yeah.
Again, I just had way more fun with this than I did Overlord if I had to compare it to something they're very similar. Well, not very, but similar enough in premise that it works. Now,
I really like Overlord, so I
I
don't know if
I
I
need
would
to
go that
rewatch it.
far.
I only watched it once, but
Yeah.
but this hit me on my very first watch. I loved it. Now,
I like Russell's kid a lot in that movie.
Okay,
I
fair
think
enough.
Wyatt Russell, I think his name is. He's great, but
but I loved the effects in this, except
I
for
think
one.
that's where
one.
they spent the predominance of their money, was
So
trying to make
all the
some stuff.
corpse, all the leftover bodies, and I mean they are torn apart bodies. There's limbs everywhere. There's intestines laying about. There's lots of gore everywhere.
Can I guess?
Okay, go ahead. What is it?
I think it's the transformation.
It's not necessarily the transformation. It's the fact that it is that effect. It
Without
is the
specifying who
the
or
main
what,
baddie effect. The problem is, it's not a full body effect. So there are parts of it that are way stronger than the rest of it.
Okay.
So parts of it are trying to tie the rest of it together, and it's just not working well.
Yeah, there's eyes and prosthetics.
There's
and stuff
prosthetics,
like
and then
that.
there's eyes, and then there's prosthetic teeth. But ultimately, when you get some wide shots, you can tell some flaws in the effects. However,
which is why
that
often a
being
lot of that
said,
stuff is shot from the chest up.
chest up or
Yeah.
close
Yeah.
up. That being said, outside of that particular makeup effect, everything else was totally on point for me.
I'm anything after the fact, as far as death goes in this film, was really brilliantly done. Set design as well. The fact that it is
a bunker movie.
It is a bunker
And yet
movie,
and yet
you liked it.
It did not play like a bunker movie is the thing. It didn't,
No, I don't
because
think
it
it
wasn't
did.
people turning on each other and backstabbing each other and all that bullshit that comes from bunker
It did
movies.
feel like, and I mean, this always goes back, like, even more so than Overlord, I always think of Wolfenstein, because Wolfenstein 3D is the game where like you encounter,
that is closer to Overlord than this.
You encounter the aftermath of what has transpired with these hideous experimentation and stuff like that. And yeah, I was completely engaged despite a singular sort of situation and stuff. And I thought all of its core and like also all of the text that they consult. When Homie gives the New Zealand guy the stuff that they were kind of messing around with per Fjord, and he's just like, oh my lord, and he sees some of the drawings, and it was on par with some of, I mean, dare I say, even the Evil Dead stuff, as far as just this frighteningly ferocious sort of shit. It was all very well plotted out and manifested from an artistic standpoint.
The cover makes you think female Nazi vampire, and that is not at all what this is.
No.
So don't judge this book by its cover, like I did for the past 10 years almost.
Did the same thing because I know,
literally 10 years, 2011 to 2021.
Yeah, because I know I saw the cover for this.
I know I did
floating
too,
around
but I'm
on
like,
streaming
nope,
services, and I'm just
nope.
like,
Female vampire Nazis? Nope,
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah,
It just
so
seems so
media cracking.
schlocky. Like they absolutely should have changed the key art for this. But yeah, absolutely, media crack. And thank you for requesting this.
Good call,
I'm
dude.
like, is this one that you were surprised yourself with how good it was? I'm very curious to know your opinion. Like, do you think this is one that not enough people have seen? Because God, the quality is there.
I contend it is.
And yet, I don't know anyone that has seen or talked about this in any of the horror groups that we frequent.
As far as the weird, there's like a subgenre of a subgenre. If you're going to talk about Nazi,
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't need to be
and stuff.
friends with those guys
Yeah.
that track all the Nazi movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got Stay Out of the Effing Basement right now, which is, it's not
Didn't even know that was a Nazi movie,
it's
so
not
thanks
exactly,
for that.
well, it's in the trailer, but...
It's not.
Yeah.
I watched the trailer.
Man, Chauncey was talking about it being in the trailer on her review. I guess
Oh,
I was
maybe.
wrong. I don't know what trailer she saw, but
I stopped
yeah,
her review like a minute in because
Yeah.
she convinced me. She's like, "This is good." I was like, "I'll watch it."
yeah, but I think this is a step above that film. It's
Okay.
It's distinctively
I'll lower my
different than
expectations
Overlord.
for that one then.
Lowered expectations.
This was just a way better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah, and it's always nice when you are, surprised as opposed to just having your hopes let down.
For sure. So thank you again to Media Kraken for requesting this
Hell
one.
yeah.
If you guys want to become a patron like Media Kraken and request movies like this that we may have missed along the way that you would love us to spread the good word about,
Bring it
the link
on.
is in the description box down below for our Patreon. Feel free to join up. We greatly appreciate it if you do. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button and subscribe. And until next time, I gotta say, I'm Cecil Laird.
And I'm still Jaime and Fuego.
And remember,
Stay
stay scared.